we're going to export our object from Sculptris, and we're going to bring it into Cheetah here. So hopefully this will all work. First of all, you're going to click on your Options tab. You are going to select Export Vertex Normals in OBJ. If you have that, hit Save. If you click that, if not, just say OK. All right, here's our little creature here. Now the thing is, remember when we talked about painting this is not a painted object. It is an object that has a curtain of paint laying on top of it. All right, and we'll see this when we export the color. It's really actually pretty cool. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to export the object itself. All right, so I'm going to go here to where it says Object Export. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to call him Demon Lad. All right, I'm going to save it into, oops, that's Demon. Sorry. I'm going to save it into my Sculptris folder that I've been working on here. So I'm going to say Save. All right, so he's all set to go, right? Now, that's just the body part. So what I need to do is I need to show my advanced tools. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save the texture map, because the texture map is what I created and it actually holds the colors. All right, so I'm going to say Save Texture Map. I'm going to give this a title. I'm going to call it Demon Texture Map, so I know what it is. It's going to save in that same folder. I'm going to say Save. All right, now the last thing I'm going to do is if you put any sort of texture, see this nice texture that I have going on here? All right, that is called the normals. That is going to be the information that tells the computer how to recreate that into Cheetah, because that's a totally separate file as well. So I'm going to go to Save Normals right here. Okay, I'm going to call this Demon Normals. I'm going to save it just like so. All right, and that's all you got to do for Sculptris. All right, so I'm going to say Quit. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to open up Cheetah. All right, here we go. So I made my little environment here that I've been working on. I have a test render of it. I'm not going to let it render the whole thing here, but I threw a little cheesy jungle bit in the background here, right? And I've just sort of checked my lighting and everything's all set. All right, maybe we'll just let it crank down here for just a second. You can see I did not build this forest. It's just a picture in the background. There's my generic looking rectangle, right? And then my earth there that box is sitting on. All right, so let's just stop that. All right, so what I need to do is I need to bring in my demon. So now I'm just going to go to File. I'm going to say Import. I'm going to search for that Demon Lad. Here he is, that object. I'm going to say Open. And here he is. It says No Name. I'm going to click on that. He's hidden in here. I just can't see him. But if I click on him in my object browser, I'll find him. I'm going to grab this arrow. Ta-da! Hey, there you are, buddy. All right, now, again, I can click on one of these boxes here, and I can make them larger or smaller, depending on, what he's going to be. I'm going to make him, I'll make him about this size, right? Now I need to line him up because I want him to stand on the box. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my camera, and I'm going to go to Top. Okay, here he is. I'm going to move him so he is standing on the box, and I'm going to rotate him because I want him to face this way. All right, so that's where I want him to stand. Make sure he fits on the box like so. Maybe I'll rotate him back this way just a little bit. Like so. All right, I'm going to go to Front. I'm going to look at him here. I'm going to bring it down a little. And I'm going to raise him a little because I don't want his feet to be sucked into that box, right? I'm going to check the back. Looks good. I'm going to check the left. Looks good. All right, so he's right on the edge of that box like so. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my camera view. He's facing the wrong way. Shoot. All right, so I'm going to go to, actually, I'll just rotate him here. But I'm going to have to go back to the top. It's just easier to work this way. Here we go. And I'm going to move him back onto the box this way. All right, I'm going to go back to my camera view. Perfect. All right, he's in my camera view. I can adjust this a little bit, make sure that my jungle's in the back there. All sorts of good stuff. All right, so here he is. So I'm going to go to Render. And it's going to render out my background. There it is again. And there he is. But now the problem is, remember, as I promised you, when I export the object, he's still gray. All right, he's the color of that clay. It actually looks kind of cool there, but you can see the great lighting that takes effect here. The sky lighting, you can see he'll have a shadow. Look, he's casting a little shadow right here, which is totally awesome, right? And he's standing inside this environment. All right, I'm going to stop that download. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I need to put on a surface. So I'm going to go to Material here. All right, I'm going to add Material. I'm going to go to Default. And I'm just going to use this default gray. All right, now it's gray. But what I'm going to do is remember how we created the material for the background. Remember we made the clouds here where we can click on it? I'm going to click on my material. It's going to bring up this window. I'm going to click on Diffuse. I'm going to go to Textures and Image. And I'm going to load an image. Now check this out. There's my texture map. Look at this. How cool is that? It took all the color off of this and it smashed it into a flat image. But when I put it onto the demon, it's going to wrap on his body. So I'm going to say open. I'm going to click off of this. I'm going to drag this right onto my demon. Got it down here. And look at that. He just turned violet color. All right. Check this out. Let's render him and see what he looks like. All right. Just takes a minute. Oh, look at that, right? Now he's got his colors in him. A little bit hard to see the color because the light is actually over his shoulder and he's got a shadow in the front because he's hunched over. But we can change that in just a little bit. But look at that. So he's got his color on him, right? But he's still smooth, so I want to put texture on him. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to put my texture on. So to do that, I'm going to click on my material again, right? It says bump map here at the bottom. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go to textures and say image. And I'm going to load my normals. So here's my normals. And you can see here a little bit, you can just see the textures. It's sort of like that texture map, but they're just the 3D reference here for your texture map. I'm going to say there. I'm going to say render. And they should automatically be in there once I loaded them. And you'll see a difference. All right, we're bringing it down. There you go. You can sort of see in his head there. Oh, look at his shoulders. Much better, right? He's got textures on him now. And he looks awesome. All right, I'm not going to let this render the whole way out. So now I can go back and forth. This is without the texture and with the texture. Check that out, right? Now, there's some ways to adjust the texture height and all that stuff, but I would say do that in Sculptris. It's much more controlled and it just looks better than trying to force this texture into something different. And that's really all there is to it. Now you can adjust your camera, you can adjust your creature, make him look different, you can zoom right up his nose, you can do whatever you want. What I would suggest doing is right now I just have that skylight on here. Maybe I'm going to go in and grab another light, and it might be a point light, which is fine. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to go back to the top view. And I'm going to move it, because right now it's behind him. See how I can see how it's lighting, which is totally awesome. It's like real-time lighting, like so. I'm going to go back to, let's go to front. Maybe I'll go to perspective here so I can see. I'm going to rotate him around. There we go, so I can see this light. It's maybe a little bit much, so I can bring down the intensity a little bit because I don't want him to be too shiny. You know, these are some other things you can do. The radius of the light is a little greater this way as well. You can do some coloring, some different things like that, but it's going to have some shadows. All right, so let's go ahead and render this guy again. See what he looks like. There we go. So I can mess with the amount of light. He looks a little shiny now because that light is on him. But he looks totally awesome. I mean, I love it. And then you'll see the shadow. The shadow right here is totally great. All right? So I'll just let this render out so you can see it. And you can see the shadow here from that skylight as well. So I've got no texture, texture, light in the front. All right? And again, just mess with your lights, mess with the intensity, all that sort of stuff. You can mess with that skylight. But that is really all there is to it. All right? Good luck.